welcome everyone to Women's Health Tech Wednesdays. I am your host, Nina Joshi, and today I am so excited to bring on our guest, Meg Columbia Walsh, who is a director at AWS. Thanks so much for being here today.
Hi, thank you. Always thrilled to be here for HITLAB. My name is Meg Columbia Walsh, and I am a longtime health tech entrepreneur. I have built and sold 5 companies, founded the first healthcare digital agency, and the first consumer website for health, CBS Health Watch, which I took public. So I say that for all the women entrepreneurs listening. Probably the most exited female in the country. Proud of that now at this age. And so I'm currently working in AI and personalization. I'm going to touch on that a little today, as that is now the hot button that everybody's interested in.
That is incredible. Before we jump, because I can't wait to hear you talk about AI, since I think that has just been dominating so much when we think about healthcare and beyond. But before we go into that, would love if you could just share some background. I mean, you have such an amazing career. Was healthcare something that you've always wanted to pursue? Would love if you can share with us, your journey thus far.
Yeah, it's a long journey at this point. So I wanted to be a doctor, actually, and I went to college on a basketball scholarship. And at that time, pre-NCAA, they would not let us miss class. And it was either give up my scholarship or continue pre-med, and I couldn't do that. As a matter of fact, my affiliation with Columbia is that many years later went back to Columbia for post-bac pre-med, and now I'm a distinguished fellow at Columbia and very much I also coached at Columbia, coached volleyball.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a very, very big and loyal supporter of the university. But I originally went into CME education. I worked for Johnson & Johnson out of school, just loved the field. It was a niche that made sense for me. And then after training the physicians and doing some cutting edge video work when it was first starting, I just liked that area. And in '96, when the internet was just starting to go crazy, I was managing Claritin, and the very big brand with a lot of money, and the product manager, some of you might know, Troy Cox, he's still in the industry. Troy wanted a website. There was nobody to build one. I told my mom, I'm quitting my job. I got to do this for him. And we started and built the first commercial pharma websites across every company. We built all the original sites. So that's really how it started. And because of that background, I was just the go-to. And then my niche became, anytime a new technology came out, I would start a company, go teach all my loyal clients how to use it, and then would sell the company. And I just did that with AI. I co-founded an AI company in 2016, actually early. Taught everybody how to use it, built it on top of AWS, and that's why I am at AWS. So lots of evolution and wonderful things for all of us to use that we're going to cover today. So that's a little bit of the journey.
That's amazing. It seems like you've really, always had your pulse on these new and innovative things that's happening. And of course, now the new one is AI. So I'd love if you can just talk a little bit more about what you're seeing. I think this is really a topic that has permeated so much of our collective mentality, and would really just love to get your perspective on, a little bit more about how you're seeing AI being used. Is it something that you're seeing with some legs and how it can be applied? Just would love if you could just, give us the knowledge when it comes to AI.
Yeah, I've been talking about this in this series, and we don't ever have a lot of time. And so I'm going to be very specific in what I talk about. So artificial intelligence combined with machine learning has been around for decades. There is nothing new about it, actually. What is new is that it's affordable. And the other thing is that it's directly attached to the cloud. So all of the companies, large companies migrating to the cloud, very important, saving the money on the capital infrastructure, artificial intelligence then becomes very accessible because the companies that are providing the cloud have amazing AI services, and therefore clients can use those as they need them. And that is just critically important. But I want to do something today and distinguish a little bit, because for the people on the phone that are in industry, or even those that are just reading everything, there's a big misnomer about things like Chat GPT and all of this new social media, I call it, AI. Basically, that is simply Wikipedia put into voice format that you can access. You know, it is not artificial intelligence in any sophisticated term, and it really isn't for the use of all of us yet. It's not replacing copywriters. It isn't replacing anybody. It is pretty cool if you want to go in and get pretty good at asking very, very specific questions for initial research. So a scraping of the web to get some basics, I absolutely would go there, but that's about it. You have to verify it. You still have to do your work, and it doesn't replace anybody. So that's the first thing. Nothing has ever been replaced, by the way. Everything has morphed. They said advertising was going away. Everything was going away, right? It's never gone away. It's changed. It's morphed. New things get more power. Other things make less money, but we're all still here, and it's all mostly in existence. What I do want to touch on that is very critical to our industry and to our patients and physicians is personalization at scale. And that now is truly disruptive and enabled by the access to affordable artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I want to explain a little bit about how that works. And I'm going to give an example. And if you stretch your imagination a little bit, yes, there's HIPAA and there's a lot of restrictions that we have. I'm not ignoring that, but that's not going to be my example. I just really want to explain how this works. And some of the terms that we hear, like personalization, thrown around. So let's use Adidas as an example. So if I'm in working with Adidas, I'm a purchase from Adidas, and I get an email in my inbox on a Monday, and that email has a 20% running coupon in it, and I do not open the email on Monday. Okay, Tuesday I go to the store and I buy a pair of running shoes. Currently, right now, for the most part, Wednesday, if I'm going back through my emails and I happen to click on that email might look quite personalized. It'll say, Dear Meg, it might have points or whatever. That is not personalization. It is not truly personalized in any way. It's recognizing who I am. It's maybe got a recommendation engine. It is not full on AI. Okay. So that's a wasted opportunity. Okay. With artificial intelligence and machine learning, if you were truly using personalization and AI, what would happen is Wednesday, when you go to that email now is nothing but a template. And that template probably has anywhere from 10 to 20 boxes on it. Those boxes are copy, coupons, etc., and they're fillable. Okay. So this is the challenge to the advertising, because the way that we do those emails now is we say, here's our target audience. I'm going to test these emails, which is A/B testing. I'm going to see how they work, and I'm going to say that for everybody 60 plus, this is the email they're going to get, etc. That is disruption. That is going away. There are no more ads. There simply are assets, and those assets are going to be assembled in real time. So what does that mean? Okay, let me back up and be simple. So now what happens on Wednesday, when that consumer goes to that Adidas email and clicks on it, code is going to instantly be inserted into that email. That code is going to pull in the first, second, and third party data. First party data will be the company's data, their purchase history, etc., all the data they have on that consumer. Second party data would be their location, the weather, etc., which we will use in context. And the third in a retail example would be Axiom or some sort of, if it was healthcare, it would be, IMS data, etc. Okay. That predictive AI layer is tech. That is a platform. These are artificial intelligence, machine learning platforms that have been built. They're still being built. They're primarily still being mastered at the startup level, although all the big companies are working on everything. And so when that code is inserted and pulls in that data, that AI is predictive. That's an important word. It looks at that data, it predicts who you are, an affluent consumer without children that happens to be standing on 42nd Street, etc. Okay. It's then going to reach out to the content management system and collect the assets. So brands, marketers are going to have to create a lot more images, headlines, buttons, etc., that are going to sit in these repositories of content management systems. The predictive engine now knows who I am, going to reach out to the content management system and pull in assets to fill in those 20 boxes in that email. Okay. And then there's a dynamic content assembly, another term we hear a lot. That means that in those assets, it's assembling it based on who it sees it is in real time, right into the template and serving it to the consumer. Amazingly, from the time I click on that email, all of what I described happens in under 50 milliseconds. So the consumer is totally unaware. Now, when I open that email, it is true personalization. It says, Meg, hi, thank you for buying that running shoe yesterday. We see where you bought it. By the way, we see you also do cleats and collector this and that. And around the corner, there's 3 left, on 3rd Avenue. It is truly personalized. And then it has machine learning in it. And therefore, if I interact with that email, they're going to learn more about me. As we've seen with all personalization, it is mostly welcomed. I like when I get things that are mine. Okay. You can opt in and out of everything in the world. Most consumers actually leave it on. People do prefer getting things that are very targeted to them, or they delete. Email is still surprisingly an extremely effective marketing tool still. But in the world of marketing transformation, digital transformation, this is where you have to really pay attention to where the effect of personalization and AI is going to have on a regular basis, because this means most companies will hire a chief content officer now. We will have more sophisticated data executives, because everything is not only going to be data, but that whole flow I just described creates more data than you've ever seen, because that A/B testing goes away. We know now that at 2 o'clock, these kind of demographics do this behavior. At 3 o'clock, they do this. It's incredible amounts of data.
That's
so if you think of that as it relates to healthcare, okay, because you have to give the CPG example for people to understand it before we get all the hysterics over HIPAA and everything else.
Right.
I still can personalize that template when I move to healthcare. More of it will be fixed, meaning some of the boxes in that email will be safety. Every email will get it. There will be maybe a second paragraph descriptor. Everybody will get it. But there are certainly allowable areas within that email that we can personalize. We certainly can do it with graphics. We can do it as long as we're not being suggestive. The same rules apply, but it is possible to start. And this is not only for email. This applies if you click on a Facebook ad. It applies if you click on a banner, a web page. It can be for your landing page. All of this now is enabled by this advanced technology, and to learn much more about your consumer and just your overall view of who you think your consumer or patient was versus who who they actually are. And now with the 24-hour minute by minute view, exactly how they truly are behaving. And if you think of the application to recruiting for clinical trials, what I just described, and how personalized the output can be back. Under the top 10 branded cancers, those patients are desperate for innovation and for information and would welcome getting something that personalized to them. So it has broad application, but it's important to understand what it is. And it's also important for everybody listening to start this, okay? Just like every technology, it's here now. Now we need to understand it. We need to look at, I did an end-to-end transformation of a pharmaceutical company who wanted to employ this technology. It required us meeting with IT. We had to look at every channel, email, banners, etc. How did they come in? How did they flow? Where were we getting the data? It required us tagging all of content exactly the same. So we trained the ad agencies exactly how they were going to tag the content. The ad agencies stopped creating completed ads and started building brand strategy and brand structure still. And they created assets as it related to the identity and the strategy. You still need them. You still need that. You still need the media plans, but you're going to use them in a different way. And they're going to be trained in a different way to utilize this. And as executives in companies hear about all the time, the cloud, the cloud, the cloud, I would highly recommend all of you take the time to say, wait, we're investing all this money. That's fantastic. They're sitting over in IT dealing with IT. How is it going to affect me as the CMO, the head of research and development? I can use that cloud. I can start to use the unbelievable services that come with being on the cloud. And the cloud is a dial up, dial down. So if you wanted to do a project exactly as I described in personalization, you can use that technology and get it up and running, and then, build it internally or take it on internally to be able to run it on an ongoing basis. So I feel very strongly about actually giving the real world ways in which we can start to apply this. And I know there's always a ton of questions, and I'm even happy to answer them afterwards, connecting with me on LinkedIn or whatever. But that I just thought was something nice to cover today, to kind of give that technical but also applicable view of what AI and how we can use it on a regular basis beyond the fluff, basically.
Absolutely. And I love the distinction, because I also did not, when I think a lot of people like myself think of AI, it's really just ChatGPT, GPT-4, kind of everything that we're hearing. And when you were talking about personalization, I was immediately kind of thinking about, targeted care plans. And when we think about prevention and really being able to get people where they're at to help close some of these care gaps, huge application. Something that I want
there is. And just to comment on that, Nina, because just like we were talking about A/B testing, I mean, all these years I'm in this industry and we're still calling them diabetics. And at best, we're calling them female diabetics, male diabetics, or maybe we're dividing them by age. Certainly that is no longer the case. And we can find out so much more. This is where the patient is happy to join in, right? I really want that care to relate to my comorbidities. I really want it to be related to me. To somebody who had children versus didn't, who's at a certain age, who has other things going on. Really critical. And again, if they opt into that kind of level of granularity, they'd welcome it when they get it. And there's plenty of ways we can ask them if they're interested in that.
Absolutely. And as you were kind of speaking too about the asset groups, I could just imagine how so many new kind of personas or other classifications, we can really get into so much nuance, where it does feel as a consumer that someone is speaking to me directly and listening to what I'm telling them. So the applications, I think, are incredible. I wanted to kind of ask, we actually have a couple of questions in the audience that I really want to get to. I think everyone is really locked into this topic. One of the questions that I have is, one of the things that you were speaking to about the next steps for an organization that is kind of interested in implementing some of these things, there's a lot of like very specific point solutions. So for a very specific, point of a workflow, here's an AI tool, here's an AI tool. How do you kind of go about finding the integration points between them? Is it something that you just, find the right team that can bring all of this together? How can someone start to build the blocks to incorporate personalization and AI into their platform?
Yeah, I love that question. And I'm going to make a suggestion, and it worked extremely well. When mobile first came about, that was one that really challenged healthcare. They really did not know what to do with mobile, and in some cases still don't. But there was a wonderful benefit to mobile technology. And certainly we saw great programs out of J&J and others as it related to texting and helping moms, et cetera. Because of the confusion, we started running mobile days in the industry. And so we would go into a pharmaceutical company and we would say, today is mobile day. And I would be working there with both the marketing as well as IT and anybody else. So in some of the larger pharmas, they have business service and IT and digital and innovation. We brought them all together. So leading up to this day, we had meetings with all of them. You have unbelievable technology companies attached to, I don't care where you're working right now, somebody big is attached. You probably have Google in there. They're doing your search. You have ad agencies in there. You have startups in there. You have data companies in there. Those are the people that need to attend and present to you on this new topic of AI, machine learning, and how that's going to work. There are some phenomenal startups that are no longer small, that are doing great work in this space. So the way that we did the agenda is we invited their own partners. So let's say you're on the AWS cloud. We want AWS in there. And if the topic is marketing, great, let them bring those people in. If you got Google, let's hear more about Google outside of search and what they're doing. Bring their executives in. The companies were so happy to participate. They did not feel threatened. We gave them each a certain amount of time. We have people using Viva for dams and for other things. No, that's the afterwards, right? That's the consultative conversation after the day is over. But we packed the room with 200 people from the company, and we made it just them on purpose so they didn't feel threatened, right? And the 200 people that came in and out all day with the published agenda got to hear the capabilities of all their different partners.
Wow.
And then as we started to follow up and talk to them afterwards, they were able to say, like, wow, I didn't even know I could use that. Many marketers still don't understand how much benefit they can get from using the cloud that their company just spent 400 million on.
Right.
And so AI is so broad. That I highly recommend the same thing. It is this disruptive as the early web. It is going to require a change management and process reengineering across industry, within the companies. We can save a lot moving to assets and not all duplicative ad services, etc. We need to own our own IP. It is more than time for everyone to own their own data. I am just a huge proponent of that, and stop just hiring everybody and letting them build their own databases. No, now it's going to be centralized. Now we have all that phenomenal database in the cloud that we can centralize everything for ourselves and own it and then use it ourselves, right? So I love the idea. I was thinking about this the other day about AI days, because this is one that just has too many legs. And people aren't understanding how their own partners can help them navigate that, and hearing from all their partners on this one topic, and then following up with really smart people afterwards who want to help to kind of look at the biggest projects you have, look at how all those vendors can help or not, and then start to craft the projects with the partners you're already paying for, right? And then where there's a gap, it's probably a newer company. I won't even startup. I don't want to throw people off. A newer company that maybe has those predictive platforms, etc., to tie it all together. But you know, that's just something that now I would do again. I think it's very timely, and I think it would be very beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was such a great way to really lay the foundation. And I definitely love AI days. I think that is such a great idea. Thank you for that, Meg. And we have another question, kind of speaking more to ChatGPT and GPT-4. Do you see it as kind of being valuable to healthcare kind of across the continuum of care? Are there any applications where you see that it can be useful in healthcare?
Yeah, I mean, you can't dismiss it, right? But we have to realize that it's man-made. I mean, it's not any different than, you know, what used to be called public domain information. Right. So, you know, to give a quick example, I mean, when I would build a startup like Oncology.com, I had nurses writing content overnight out of the public domain, the NCI, the NIH, etc., to put it in a 6th grade level and get it out the next morning. Okay. So obviously with these new AI services, I don't need to do that. But it does not eliminate my editorial department, right? So as I said before, I think at the level of sophistication they are right now and the content they actually hold and the fear of too much misinformation or wrong information, that I really still recommend to everybody. It is your first round of research and learn how to use it well, because the more specific the prompt, the better the information you're going to get. But do not count on that information as the end all, the done truth, etc. It has to be verified. It has to be followed up on. And so in some ways, yes, there's a way to scan the market. I can look at a market scan quicker. I can look at a patient scan quicker. Just out of curiosity, what is my competition doing in this area? Now I'm going to have more access, but it's only recent data. And it's not that we cannot not verify it. Okay. And because it's learning from us, it can be learning misinformation too. So it doesn't mean don't use it. It just means it's the first line to save you some time. But it's still the second deeper dive and third before you write any paper or make a suggestion in your company or form a project. You're going back to the same way we've always done it. You're making sure you're valid. You're making sure you have other touch points. And then, you know, you're diving in, you know, knowing that you're correct and accurate, etc. So that's how I see, we're in a serious industry, right? That's how I see it being able to save us some time, but being very careful to not rely on it fully at this point.
Yeah, it's a great starting point. It's kind of a good directional signal for you to do your own research. And I also realized we are at time. Where did the 30 minutes go?
It goes so fast.
I know. We have to do a part 2 with you, Meg, because there's still, I think, so many great questions that we have. I think this is such a really great topic. And for those whose questions I was not able to get to, I'm so sorry, but Meg's LinkedIn is also in the chat if you want to follow up with her directly. And we definitely need to bring you back again as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you as always, Nina. And go HITLAB.